Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Taking a look at another intriguing matchup on the Week 3 slate as the Washington Huskies head on the road and play the Michigan State Spartans, a team that very familiar with. One of my best friends, massive Michigan State fan. Watch a lot of the games. I talk a lot of Michigan State football. Excited to get into this one. Now, I know there's been a lot of news around the Michigan State program and Mel Tucker. Not really going to get into that. I don't have enough information. I want to focus more on some of the matchups in this game. And at the end of the day, Michigan State has a very good opportunity to knock off a top 10 team in the country and a bona fide top 10 team in the country at that. If many of the Washington fans have been listening to me all summer, like Michael Penix was my pick to win the Hiesman. I think this is one of the most dangerous teams in college football. Excited to get into this one. Now, before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. Like the support for all these game breakdowns truly does mean a lot. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Over 8,000 subscribers is truly an insane number. Can't thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. And more importantly, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. The best part about doing this, talking ball with you guys, learning from you guys in the comment section, hearing your picks. So let me know in the comment section how we feeling for this game. And without further ado, let's get into this. And I feel like you got to start with this Washington offense when you're taking a look at this game. And again, it's going up against a Michigan State defense, especially in the back end, that has been downright bad the last couple of years. Now, this year, I feel a little bit better. You have some young faces, a little bit more athleticism in the back end, albeit inexperienced. I think they're more talented in the back end. If you follow the recruiting kind of like I do, you know there are some dogs in the back end for Michigan State that I think might be able to match up a little bit better than they historically did last year against this Washington wide receiver room. But it comes down to this Washington offense being just a straight wagon, right? Michael Penix, 73% completion percentage, almost 900 yards, 8 touchdowns through the first 2 games, You combine that with Kalen DeBoer running this offense with 4 wide receivers. In the preseason, I would have said 3 wide receivers. I would say 4 now. You got Roma Duzne, McMillan, Polk, and then the Michigan State transfer in Jeremy Bernard. So many ways this Washington Huskies team can attack a secondary. You combine that with Michael Penix, who again I think is one of the most dynamic passers in the country, and I'm not saying anything breaking news there. He's my pick to win the Heisman. That being said, this offense, an absolute wagon. Now, one of my things that I'm looking at during this matchup is can Washington establish the run a little bit more, because that is what I think if Washington can be special in 2023, I think they can complement this air raid attack that is, again, so dynamic with a rushing attack that I think can be pretty good, but it's been off to a slow start through the first 2 weeks. I think this offensive line and pass protection really good, but going back and watching the Boise State game, doesn't seem like they're as physical in terms of blocking in the run game. So I'd like to see them maybe establish a little bit more in the run game. Now, for Michigan State on the defensive side of the ball, I think the way that you would want to get Washington off their spot on the offensive side of the ball is getting after with the pass rush. And again, if you listen to kind of my thoughts on Michigan State heading into the year was, if there's a spot to be optimistic about this team, it's in the front 7. I think you have a laundry list of guys on the defensive line who can be game wreckers, right? Chris Bogle, Tunzine Adeli, Barrow, Brandon Wright. A lot of these guys can get into the backfield and be a little bit disruptive. Now, Washington, I think, is really good in pass protection, but if you're looking at a way to get Washington off their spot a little bit, I do think it is getting Michael Penix a little bit. I get him off his spot in the pocket, and so looking at this matchup, I like Michigan State secondary. Do I think they can match up with all these wide receivers that Washington brings to the table? Not quite. So I think the way you stop them is getting some pressure, winning with your front 4. And again, that is probably Michigan State's best ability to win this game, or at least slow down this Washington Huskies offense, is becoming disruptive with their front 7. Again, the backers absolutely love Cal Halliday. If you guys have listened to me the last couple of years, no gloves, no nothing, continues to be just one of the best linebackers in the Big Ten. Goes sideline to sideline. He's very good in pass coverage as well. Already has an interception on the year. I'm looking for Michigan State to kind of get some pressure on this Washington Huskies offense, and that's probably the way that you can maybe slow down this Washington offense. Now, the other way you can slow down a Washington offense, and this is flipping sides to Michigan State on the offensive side of the ball, is establishing the run and just keeping the offense off the field, controlling the time of possession, controlling the clock. That's what I look to for Michigan State on the offensive side of the ball. And you have Nathan Carter, who not to overreact for the first two games, but if there was a guy that kind of reminds you of Kenneth Walker, and I'm not saying he's Kenneth Walker, but kind of runs like him, it's Nathan Carter, right? Really, really elusive, can run behind his pads when he needs to. Nathan Carter has looked to be that guy for Michigan State. Now, my problem with Michigan State and what I need to see a little bit more of, and they have an opportunity to do it on a big stage here, is get a little bit more physical up front. Like this offensive line, if you guys, again, listen to me, coming into the year, it's a veteran group. It has like a lot of guys who's played a lot of football, have a lot of snaps under their belt. Are they able to make that jump in 2023 and become a little bit better of an offensive line? Now, I was a little concerned because when you have fourth and fifth year guys, like, are they going to get much better in the next year? You're not really sure. Through the first two games, I watched a week one matchup, not like overpoweringly physical against a MAC opponent, which makes you a little bit nervous. That being said, Michigan State, if they can get the run game going, keep Michael Penix in this offense off the field, I like their chances. And Noah Kim against Richmond, I know it's Richmond, started off rocky. I believe started off 2 of 6 and only threw like one more incompletion the rest of the game. Looks solid. And you have some wide receivers that I kind of like. Trey Mosley, Jaden Glover. You have some guys, but I think it starts with Michigan State establishing the run, maybe forcing Washington to load the box a little bit, and then maybe get it to your wide receivers who, again, young, but I think are pretty solid. Now, Washington on defense, I think this is an underrated group, and it's not going to be a group that finishes top 10 in the country because, again, you're going opposite of a Washington team that just goes down and scores every time. Hard to put up elite numbers. That being said, from a personnel standpoint, I really do like Washington. You got one of the best edge rushers in Braylon Trice. I know ZTF battling some injuries. Really, really good linebacker play in Ulu Fashiu. He flies around the football, makes a lot of tackles. And then the back end, Jabbar Muhammad was a massive, massive addition to this Washington Huskies team that, again, you're not used to seeing a leaky secondary for this Washington program. Last year, it was not great. They go out and get one of the best cornerbacks in the transfer portal, shores that up. I hope Asa Turner is back because he's one of my favorite players in this Huskies team. I know he left with an injury against Tulsa last week. What it comes down to, and I guess we'll get to like the keys to the game, and then we'll give you the pick. Keys to the game for Washington: score a lot of points, be able to stop Michigan State's running attack. And if you can do that, like, it's really hard to see Michigan State winning this game. I think Washington's going to get their points. For Michigan State, like, their key to the game here is running the football, keeping Michael Penix off the field. And if they can do that, they can keep this game close and try to win it at home in the fourth quarter. But again, if Michigan State can't establish the run against this Huskies team, I don't want to trust. I mean, the Michigan State fans probably agree here. You don't want to trust Noah Kim to go beat Michael Penix in a shootout. I mean, Michael Penix got like arguably 3 All-Americans at that wide receiver room. Noah Kim, who I think has looked, again, decent, nothing nearly has, like, the offense isn't designed to win in a track meet, and certainly not the playmaking that Washington has in the wide receiver room. They got to win this in the trenches. You got to make it a classic Big Ten, overpowering a Pac-12 defensive front and keeping Michael Penix off the field. Now, my problem is, and this will get to the pick, is I think Washington's pretty damn good up front. And I think Michigan State can keep this close. Don't get me wrong. That being said, I don't trust this Michigan State offensive line enough to run the ball and keep Michael Penix off the field. And if it does get into that shootout kind of game, I mean, the Washington Huskies are going to come away with this one. Now, the line's sitting at, 14.5, 2 touchdowns. I'm leaning Washington. Again, that's a lot of points to take on the road against the Michigan State team that's got some talent. Like, Mel Tucker has some talent on this roster. So I'm not necessarily itching to take Washington to win by 3 scores. That being said, at the end of the day, it's really hard to see this Washington team, with how good this offense is, go into East Lansing and not win this football game. But again, this Michigan State team, a lot more talented than I think people give credit for. And I think we'll be competitive in this game. It's going to be a good one. Again, I'm excited for it. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. Would love to hear your picks in the comment section. Appreciate you guys rocking with us, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.